Okay, everyone, how's it going? It's me here again, and this time, I guess it's just gonna be another movie review. Let's just leave it at that. So, I was watching some horror movies, and I came across one that was somewhat good. I mean, it's one of those ones that you can tell was more of a low budget, but they did what they could. They did it fairly well. It's called All Hallows Eve. Now, it's not one I would say, oh, go out there. It's gonna be like, it's the best horror movie of all time. It's just one that I happened to come across, and it wasn't that bad. It was just one I went in not expecting really anything, and I was slightly pleased with what it was. Now, this one's kind of has a mix of different things. It's kind of like they took It, The Ring, and kind of some plot elements of like the old like Halloween or Friday the 13th movies. It's pretty much, it takes place on Halloween, obviously. They've kind of taken, or they've pretty much finished trick-or-treating, and it's this babysitter, and she's probably like in her 30s or so. She's just helping out a friend, and she's babysitting her friend's kids, and of course the kids are fairly young. They're probably like, I don't know, somewhere around 10, 11 at the most, I would say. And pretty much what happens is that someone somehow, miraculously, I don't know how you do this, sneaks a VHS tape into this kid's bag. And it's kind of weird that he did VHS tapes, because from what I could tell, it looked like it took place around the 2013 or so time frame. But no, they just have VHS tapes. So I guess if you want to make a good horror movie, or just make a horror movie in general, make sure there's a VHS tape in there that's somewhat the plot element of all the movie. I think you've pretty much got it set there for you. Because you know when once that VHS tape is in your possession, shit's getting real. And so, pretty much what it is, the babysitter ends up playing the tape, and the tape has like 3-4 movies on it, if I remember correctly. I think it was just 3, and it's kind of interesting how this works, because each one is about someone getting killed. The first one, it shows like the main kind of villain, or bad person, I guess, I don't know what you want to say, of the movie, and I think it's called Art the Clown, if I remember correctly, and he's just creepy. It's just like, he's not like It, where like everything that looks like how It actually is. I can't even remember. Pennywise, there we go, Pennywise looks like that. That's how he naturally looks. Art the Clown, if I remember his name correctly, he kind of transforms a little bit. I mean, when it's like he's just all happy and giggly, he just looks like someone who put on face paint and a mask. But when he like actually gets demonic and everything, it's like, no, he's just straight up terrifying clown. And so the first one's pretty much this girl is in a bus station waiting for the bus to come, and Art the Clown pretty much captures her in simple terms. And Art the Clown's kind of weird because he doesn't really say anything, but you can get a lot of how he is from the way he acts. He's pretty much like, he's just crazy. He's more of a demon, you should say, and he really gets joy out of making people suffer, and he knows how to scare people. And that's pretty much what he does here. She tries to get away from him after he like grabs her, and he like injects her with something and captures her, like puts her to sleep. And so she ends up waking up in this little chamber, or this little hallway with like 2 other girls, and one of them ends up getting dragged away by something. The other 2 try to escape, find where like these chains that are holding them are like all the way back, who knows where. And they follow the chains to find where they're hooked up at, and she ends up actually finding it. And they try to do that. One of the girls ends up getting captured and killed. The other one ends up somewhat getting away, but she eventually just ends up getting captured, and there's like this demon thing there, and it just kind of ends there. There's no telling what happens. Maybe demon babies, who knows? Who knows? Some people are into that. I'm not. But after that, they pretty much turn off the VHS tape, and she has the other 2 kids go to sleep. And along the ways, the babysitter ends up watching the next movie, and this one was kind of weird. This one didn't have the clown in it, really. Pretty much it's this girl and her husband, fiance, I don't really remember, ends up moving to the countryside, and she's there on her own in the middle of the night packing, or unpacking, I should say, and I guess her husband like painted this picture, or fiance, and he doesn't exactly remember painting it. And so it's kind of covered up, and there's something in the house, and she ends up finding out that something's in. She ends up trying to get away, and the car's dead. Something's outside glowing. She goes back in the house, and she ends up coming across finding that it's some sort of alien thing that's in her house following her, and it's pretty much following her, trying to get to her. And she ends up calling her fiance, he ends up telling her to call the police, and she ends up getting captured. And when the alien like drags her away, she pulls the like little sheet off the painting. It turns out to be Art the Clown again. And so it kind of makes you wonder if like that was set up by Art the Clown. It was kind of an interesting movie, but the last one ends up following this like she's kind of a costume designer for a movie, and this is the final movie on that little VHS tape, and pretty much she ends up coming across a gas station, and when she gets there, Art the Clown is getting kicked out of the gas station. And Art the Clown looks at her, looks back at him, and leaves, and you can just tell Art the Clown's kind of ticked off at this guy at the gas station, because the guy at the gas station kicked him out because Art the Clown ended up, like, really making a mess in the bathroom. And so he kicks him out, and while the gas station guy is filling up this woman's car, he ends up hearing a noise back in the gas station. He goes back in there, and for a little bit, like, he's gone, and she ends up going in there, and Art the Clown ended up killing this guy, and he's right there, he's just cutting up all her body parts and everything, or his body parts, like, cutting off his head, and Art the Clown's just crazy, and he's just looking, he just, like, stops, and he's, like, looking at her with, like, this smile and everything. And pretty much a chase ensues. She ends up driving away, and as she's driving away, she's trying to call, like, help, and she ends up seeing Art the Clown, like, here on the road, like, with a sign, like, trying to get her to stop, and everything, and she just ends up going by, and Art the Clown just looks, and it's like, nope, he ain't stopping, or she ain't stopping, and somewhere along the way, she ends up coming across this, other car that's there, and she, like, stops, looks in the car, and there's this guy who's, like, has his hands cut off, his eyes cut and everything, and she, like, runs, gets in the car again, drives off, and there's Art the Clown again. And this is where you really see, like, what Art the Clown is, like, truly like, is this final little movie on this VHS tape. And this one, he can, like, he seems to be able to teleport wherever he wants to. In this, she ends up stabbing in the back at one point, and he just turns out that he's actually immortal. So it really proves that he's more just like a demonic type spirit. And so she ends up finding help after she crashes, and Art the Clown ends up coming up driving by, and ends up shooting the driver, and she crashes, and he ends up taking her. And she had, like, stabbed him in the eye and everything, like, while she was trying to get away from him, because at one point, she, like, hid in this little shed, and he, like, dug up from the ground, because trying to get to her. She, like, stabs him in the back, stabs him in the eye, and she thought she killed him, and she gets away. And actually, I question if she thought she killed him, because she said there's a clown chasing him even after she stabbed him. And that's when he comes up in the car next to him while they're driving, and he shoots the driver, and she's in the passenger seat. And he ends up taking her, and she ends up waking up in, like, this little medical room, and she had, like, he's, like, removed her arms, he's removed her legs, he's, like, carved words all over her body and everything. And you can't hear him laugh, because it does it silently, but you can tell he's laughing because there's, like, you can see him laughing. And he's just creepy. And so she ends up, like, or that's pretty much where that ends, and it goes back to the babysitters watching it. She ends up, like, turning off the tape. She ends up going over and listening on the phone. When she grabs the phone, she ends up hearing that woman in that final tape, and she's, like, bewildered. I don't know how she didn't, like, notice it, because she could clearly hear what she was saying, like, she heard her saying it in the exact same VHS tape, but she ends up hearing that that costume designer. She hangs up, she sees the TV come back on, there's Art the Clown cutting up that guy again in the gas station, and he just stops, looks at the camera, smiles and everything, you know, just like it did, like it was playing it, and then it goes to, like, this other room, and it shows Art the Clown just staring at the freaking screen from the other side. He just, like, ends up, like, tapping the screen and everything, looks at her, and it switches again, and this time it's showing this, like, the TV shows the living room with the babysitter, and the babysitter's looking at the screen, she's Art the Clown sitting behind, but he's not actually there, and she eventually turns off the tape and disappears, and she hears the kids screaming, and she goes running up there, and there's the clown, all bloody and everything, pretty much hinting that he's killed the kids. She looks, he disappears, she goes up there, and she sees the kids are dead. And the movie, as I said, I wasn't expecting much of it. It was just one of those things, like, it's there, why not watch it? And I watched it. It's like, it's not that bad, really. It's a fairly decent movie. I mean, it doesn't have a big budget. For the budget they did, it didn't look that bad. What was interesting I found most is that the VHS tape on it, each movie on the VHS tape, like, has different visuals. Like, the very last one looks like an old movie from, like, maybe late 80s or so. The second one looks more like it's a bit more, I don't know how to say it, modern visuals, and then the first movie looks more like it's in between, like, late 90s or so. It was kind of interesting to see that, how each movie on there is, like, visually look different from, like, different time frames. But the movie wasn't that bad, I found. Like I said, it was fairly interesting. It, like, has different plots to everything. I mean, it's like, it has the plot of, like, babysitter in the house taking care of kids, and then, of course, creepy clown, like Pennywise, except this one's Art the Clown, and then, of course, it's, like, playing on the whole ring with the VHS tape and everything, and this VHS tape also leads you to just, like, in the ring. So it was a fairly good movie. If you're one of those people that just like watching horror movies in general, doesn't really care about how bad they are, you might be interested in this. From the ratings I saw, people gave it, I think it was like 3.8 out of 5, so it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the best horror movie ever. But overall, it's one of my favorite or not my favorite, but one of the horror movies that I'll probably somewhat remember. But who knows? Comment down below whatever you want to do. I don't really care. There's never anyone who really watches these, to be fairly honest. I think there's one person, maybe a little bit more. But leave your favorite horror movie, and I will see you guys next time.